The dust storms of Draconis 7th painted the sky in shades of rust and amber as Xavier guided his hover rig across the wasteland. The colony had fallen 3 cycles ago, its infrastructure crumbling like the bones of the great star worms that once ruled these skies. Most humans had evacuated. Xavier stayed. His weathered hands, scarred from years of working the mining fields, gripped the controls as he spotted movement near the collapsed observation tower. Through the haze, he saw her, a Draketh female, her once iridescent scales now dulled by malnutrition, her wings folded tight against her serpentine body. Behind her, 3 hatchlings huddled in the shadow of debris. Xavier brought the rig to a halt and stepped out, his boots crunching on crystalline sand. The universal translator on his belt crackled to life as the Draketh woman raised her elegant head, her golden eyes meeting his with a mixture of desperation and pride. "Human," she said, her voice carrying the melodic resonance of her species, though weakened. "We mean no harm. We are simply passing through." Xavier tipped his worn hat, a relic from Earth he'd never abandoned, despite a lifetime in the stars. "Ma'am," he said simply. She straightened, attempting dignity despite the visible tremor in her limbs. The hatchlings behind her, no larger than Earth dogs, pressed closer to their mother, their small scales shimmering with fear patterns. "We haven't eaten in days," she whispered, the admission clearly costing her everything. Pride was sacred among the Draketh, especially for widows who bore the responsibility of their clutch alone. Xavier had heard the stories. When a Draketh warrior fell, his mate took on the sacred duty of raising their young in solitude, accepting no charity, no weakness. The colony's collapse had trapped many such families, too proud to ask for evacuation, too loyal to abandon their territories. "Name's Xavier," he said, moving slowly to the cargo compartment of his rig. "And you are?" "Skylar," she replied, watching his every movement with predatory awareness, despite her weakened state. "Widow of Commander Thalrex, guardian of the Northern Peaks." "Honored to meet you, Skylar." Xavier pulled out a thermal container and several sealed packages. "I've got protein rations, some synthesized game meat, and water purifiers. It ain't fancy, but it'll keep you and your young ones going." Skylar's crest flared, a sign of distress among her kind. "I cannot accept charity. We are Draketh. We do not—" "It ain't charity," Xavier interrupted gently, setting the supplies on the ground between them. "It's neighbors helping neighbors. Back on Earth, we had a saying. A cowboy never rides past someone in need. Doesn't matter if they got 2 legs, 4 legs, or wings that can slice through steel." The hatchlings chittered softly, their hunger overriding their mother's pride. Skylar's resolve cracked as she watched them, her maternal instinct warring with cultural expectations. "I have nothing to offer in return," she said, her voice breaking. "My mate's death benefit was stored in the colony vaults. Everything is gone. I cannot repay this debt." Xavier crouched down, his weathered face kind beneath the brim of his hat. "You know what you can offer? You can survive. You can raise those babies of yours. You can rebuild. That's payment enough for any decent person." He pushed the supplies closer. "Besides, I've been out here alone for 6 months keeping the mining equipment from getting buried. Could use some company, some stories. Your people have been flying these skies for 10,000 years. I'd wager you've got tales that'd make my hair curl more than it already is." Skylar studied him for a long moment, her analytical mind, trained in military strategy and honor codes, trying to reconcile this human's actions with everything she understood about the universe. The weak did not help the strong. Strangers did not give without expecting return. Yet here was this human, this cowboy, as he called himself, offering sustenance with no contract, no demands. Nothing but genuine kindness in his weathered eyes. "Why?" she finally asked. "Your species left. You could be on a safe colony world living in comfort. Why stay? Why help? Xavier smiled, the lines around his eyes deepening. My granddaddy used to say that character ain't what you do when everyone's watching. It's what you do when you're the only one left who can do it. He gestured to the wasteland around them. Someone's got to keep the lights on. Someone's got to make sure folks who need help get it. That's just being human. The words hung in the air between them, translated but somehow carrying more weight than language alone could convey. Skylar's hatchlings crept forward, their small snouts testing the air near the food packages. Humanity, fuck yeah, Skylar whispered. Using a phrase she'd heard the human colonists say, a strange expression of pride and defiance that seemed to capture something essential about Xavier's species. Xavier chuckled. That's the spirit, ma'am. Now why don't you and your young ones eat something while I set up the portable shelter? There's a storm coming in 3 hours, and I'll be damned if I let y'all face it on empty stomachs. As Skylar watched him work, her hatchlings finally breaking their fast with desperate, grateful chirps, she felt something shift in her understanding of the galaxy. Her people prided themselves on honor, on strength, on independence. But perhaps true strength wasn't just in standing alone, it was in having the courage to accept kindness when it was freely given. And perhaps humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons or their stubborn refusal to quit. Perhaps it was simpler than that. Perhaps it was their ability to see someone in need and respond with nothing more complicated than decency. Xavier looked up from securing the shelter's foundation, caught her watching him, and winked. Don't worry, Skylar. We'll get you back on your feet, or wings, as the case may be. That's what neighbors do. In the dying light of Draconis VII, as storms gathered on the horizon and stars began to pierce the rust-colored sky, Skylar understood why humanity had earned its place among the stars. Not through conquest, not through superiority, but through the simple revolutionary act of giving more than food. They gave hope,